Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we're talking with Andrew Hyatt. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
I mean, I'm living. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Being alive is a good thing, that's for sure. Surviving is a good thing. Thriving is even better. That's what the goal is.
That's always a bonus for sure. Yeah. So we're here to talk today about your music, your career, your new release. Still something. If I believe that's what I wrote
Yeah,
down
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. Still something. Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah.
But for those who are new, can you give a little intro about yourself?
Yeah, man. Name's Andrew Hyatt, born and raised in northern Canada. Spent a lot of time up there playing music in bars and churches. Started out in churches, moved to bars, as usually is the case. And then from there, man, I worked in the mine for a little bit and just kind of was waking up every day with song ideas in my head, sneaking off into C cans, kind of just tracking, leaving myself voicemails on my LG flip phone. And
Nice.
then one day I bought an iMac when the iMacs got reissued back in the day, and GarageBand was on that, and I just could not stop getting home from work and just writing songs. Always knew I wanted to do it, but that just kind of set the arrow in motion, and it's just kind of been a straight path, so to speak, ever since. It was just music, 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 no matter what. And
hmm
yeah, that's we've had a little bit of success over the last 8 years at country radio in Canada, and streaming services across the world, and satellite radio has been really good to me as well. So they say it's a 10-year game, and I think we're in year 8 or 9. So
You're getting there, that's for sure.
building traction slowly.
hmm Do you remember like that point in early life when you're like, man, music is it? Like, was it a first album, first song you heard?
No, man, I remember it very clearly. Actually, my sister was dating a dude who was, I would have been young, man. I would have been like maybe 11. Um, and this guy was, I think, 19. And I remember we went to pick her up at his house, and my mom and his mom are chatting, and him and his brother were playing guitar, and I remember hearing, it was two acoustics, and they were singing in harmony, and that was like the first time I had really heard that in real life. And in that moment, I was like, I'm going to be in a band, whatever that is. It was like a drug, man. I could not quit it. I was like, I heard it. I couldn't sing and I couldn't play guitar. And I went to school the next day, and I was like, hey, who plays music? And it was my buddy Mark, my buddy Ben, and his brother Joel, and then eventually it was his brother. It was two sets of brothers, and they could all play, and I couldn't. So I said, I guess I'm the singer because I can't play anything. And like I went home, and I had this old guitar that had 3 strings on it, and I started teaching myself where my fingers would go on the chords, and luckily it was the top 3 strings. So I learned some power chords, and I just started writing songs. And I was so shitty at playing guitar and singing that I couldn't learn other people's music because I couldn't figure out like the rhythms, like playing and
Okay.
singing at the same time. So I went right to writing my own music, and like within a week, I had written 10 of the worst songs you had ever heard in your life. We got together and we started jamming in a basement, and God bless those parents because it was guaranteed terrible. From there, I dove into voice lessons, and I never looked back, man. Like even all through high school, like I skipped as many classes as I could just to play guitar and write songs. And I was lucky to have educators who saw that in me, and instead of trying to squash it, they encouraged it. I didn't have to write my final exams in high school because they let me tour with a band that I had no business being in. I was playing in this kind of rock thing. They were older than me, and they needed like a rhythm guitar player. They called it lead, but the lead singer just played the lead. I just played rhythm, and I had no business being there. But he was the most patient dude ever, Sean Dayton, and he took me out. And yeah, man, it's a weird world. And like I feel like I've been, doors have always opened for me, so I don't worry about it. Whether it was money or whether it was jobs or whether it was relationships, it's always just kind of, for better or worse, has always kind of fueled the fire that has got me to where I am right now.
Yeah, life will find a way kind of thing.
That's it. That's it.
hmm your new single, can you give us a little bit of a story behind that? Still something?
Yeah, man. So this song, we actually tracked this song, uh, man, I want to say like 3 years ago, 2019, I think we tracked this song, and I was waiting on a vocal surgery. So when I was finished the vocal, I just didn't feel good about it. Like my voice was not what it should have been. And so we hit pause, we waited for the surgery. And then, the song was actually cut by another artist and released, and it sounded totally different. So when it came time to put the record out, I had just had my vocal surgery, and I was kind of figuring out my voice again, and just, it was like a baby trying to learn to walk is what it felt like. And so I built this home studio, and I cut most of this record from there, actually, vocally. And I worked through this song at the end of it, and I cut my vocal, I sent it off to my producer, and he sent it back, kind of mixed in and comped and whatnot, and it sounded badass. So we were like, fuck it, let's put it on the record.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've gone 2 singles deep at radio on this record in Canada, and then we decided, hey, this song has been responding so well live, and we've had a few the program directors say like this was actually our first pick from some of the chains. So we're like, you know what, I love this song, I love the way it responds live, I love that, like, streaming wise, it has kind of done, it's been consistent. So we're taking a swing, and I just love this song, man. I love playing it live. I love every version of it. It just is so nostalgic for me. I remember this is a long-winded answer, but like every part of this song, it represents what nostalgia and music is for me. I'm old enough that I can remember getting like a double tape player and making mixtapes from tape to tape, and then
Yep.
also taking off the radio and sitting up till like 1 a.m, being a kid, being like, oh, I want to hear that Foo Fighters song. And like, it's like Monkey Wrench comes on, and you're like, there it is, or like Learn to Fly, and you're like, okay, there it is, and you get it on there, and then you throw it in your Walkman, and then going through burning CDs and all that, or you get your license and you meet a girl, and your first breakup, and like your first like buddy, first time you smoke weed, all that shit, like the music that's playing in the background becomes this timestamp for your life. And I feel like this is what that song reminds me of, is all of those key moments.
Yeah, I mean, music definitely, it brings you back to every one of those moments. So something like that, I can understand for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah.
So with this single, so I went back in your catalog a little bit. I went back to 2015 when you have Never Back Down. How do you think your sound has evolved from back then to now?
Oh man, Never Back Down. Wow, I that record is hilarious to me because I was a baby, man. I was a baby, and that was my first time ever working with a record label, and um, you know, it, like, a few of the songs on there, like the singles that we went with, probably would never have been the choices I made, but I was trusting, A&R, and I mean, it's like that for every artist, right? It's like everything from like what the album looks like to like what they had me wearing to like
Mm-hmm.
it was just it was a very funny experiment. But there are songs that I'm really proud of on that record. Um, so yeah, man, just kind of a stepping stone of an album, and it got my foot in the door, and we had some cool experiences with it. But yeah, I would say like once Iron and Ashes kind of came out, the next record, that's sort of where I was kind of given the opportunity to kind of stretch my legs a little bit as a writer, and there were some songs on there that the label had kind of said, well, we have these 3 songs that we feel are going to be singles, do whatever else you want on the record, and that's kind of how it worked. And
Okay.
at the time, and so then the rest of those songs, there was a song called She Ain't You, and that's a song that kind of built my career, right? Like it was an acoustic song, and I can remember playing it at an awards thing, kind of a post show party, and I just remember that moment. Like all the folks from CMT were there. There was like PR team was there. Who became my future management were there, and some people that are now really good friends. And I remember playing the song, telling the story, and looking up, and like everyone is crying, and I was like, oh shit, like we're on to something here. And that song,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of what it was a little bit of gasoline on a small match is what it was, and it just kind of kept going. And you chase those moments for the rest of your life when you're in music and you're trying to constantly keep the momentum going. It's like those little burns are what kind of keep things moving.
Yeah, for sure. My first introduction to your music was actually last year at the Boots and Hearts Festival. I was
Oh,
one of the media guys out there covering. So I've got
nice.
some awesome shots of you in one of my folders here somewhere too, I think.
Oh,
And
killer, man, killer. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I got to experience you live and your energy on stage and everything, and you commanded that crowd whether they liked it or not, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, that's like a hometown festival for me, right? Like I'm from Northern Ontario, so um, Oro Medante, Boots and Hearts being that massive festival, they have been so good to me in so many ways. And then that crowd is I would say there's a good chunk. I've lived in Toronto, I've lived in Hamilton, I've lived in Newmarket, I've lived in Sudbury, I've played in bands out of North Bay, I've been up in the Sioux. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel like that that's a crowd that's built for me, luckily,
For
and we've
sure.
had a lot of success in Ontario and in Canada at radio. So yeah, man, I like getting sweaty on stage, and I like to party when I'm on stage. And I've been blessed to do it with people that I consider some of the best humans in the world and some of my best friends on stage beside me. So how can you not be happy, right? You know,
Yeah.
how can you not be happy doing that?
Yeah, like I'm based in Ottawa, so I always try to get out to Boots to cover it because it's one of my favorite ones. You get to see some insane musicians there, and
Yeah,
it's fast out like, and they're really because just the way it's set up and the caliber that they bring in every time.
yeah, it's a honestly, man, like I've played pretty much every festival in Canada, maybe outside of like Lasso and a couple in Quebec, and like all the major ones anyway. And don't get me wrong, there's something great about all of them, but there's something that just feels uh, really romantic about music at that one. Like it just is this thing that they really capture the spirit of artists and the spirit of what live music should be. So it's cool, and that interaction between they get the crowd as close as they can to the artist, which is nice. It's not always the case at all festivals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have a small spot we can run around in that one stage to shoot pictures. Otherwise, it's crowd, and you guys can usually reach out and touch each other at that point.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's there's not a lot of buffer. Sometimes some of the festivals they have bigger spaces between the rowdy crowd and not, and for whatever reason, and I respect those decisions, and I love playing those festivals. But Boots, man, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm already geared up to go back this year. So,
Nice, yeah, it's going to be a hell of a lineup this year for sure.
mm-hmm. What do you think of the state of the industry? I guess right now with summer touring, festival season, like it seems like there's a million shows out there right now.
Yeah, I think it's back. I feel like a lot of the Canadian artists, it's a little slower for us this because usually what happens is you have a festival year and then you have a touring year and then a festival year and a touring year, and you always kind of leapfrog them like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we're busy, but last summer was absolutely insane because we had just gotten back, and then on top of that, with the vaccination stuff, if you were an American and you weren't vaccinated, you couldn't come in.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a lot of Canadian plays last summer. Like we burned out last summer because we played so much. It was insane. And then because of that, you have a little bit of a slower summer. Not slow, but slower. And
Yeah.
we've got a tour coming in the spring, or actually top of the winter, top of the new year. So it's not going to slow down, man. It's definitely back, and it's nice to be making music and making a living making music, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think it takes to have that stellar performance? Like, what are the key things you're looking for?
Uh, man, so much of it is a mental game. Like I know for me, I've been at this a long time. I've been playing music live, be it churches, bars, venues, um, and the biggest shift for me was the mental game, man. Like I went through a real low point when my voice kind of gave out a few years back, and I had to wait, get surgery for it, and that kind of put me in my head. And I feel like I've figured it out again, where it's like you just got to live in the moment and like trust that what you're doing, if it brings you joy, it'll bring somebody else joy. So make yourself happy, and everything else will kind of fall into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, from what I can see, like I'm no musician, but when you're on stage, you're looking for something, and it seems like you find it every time these days with musicians. You're looking for performance in that standout moment, and you can see the happiness in someone like you on stage, just having that moment.
Yeah, I think the more I think there's this weird thing that happens when you start out. You're just so happy to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like it's like you're like the golden retriever of music when you're young, and you're just happy to be on stage, happy to be ripping. And then at some point, the business aspect kicks in, and then you kind of get lost in the like you're creating art, and then you're handing it off to other people to evaluate or like to tell you what it's worth. And sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
get caught in that trap, especially with when you're chasing radio charts and you're chasing streams and you're just you're trying to make a living, and so then music becomes this transaction for monetary gain, and at some point in time that can kind of play with your head. But I think as you get older or you get deeper into the industry, I'm 8 years, maybe nine into record deals, and it's a 10-year game, so hopefully it's gonna just explode pretty soon. But we've had a good amount of success, and um, yeah, man, I think at some point it just shifts and you just kind of, you stop giving a fuck and you just go, I'm going to make music that I love making because I love making it. And I'm going to make music I'm proud of. And if somebody likes it, great. And if they don't, it doesn't matter because I am. And that's kind of where I am right now. And I just kind of shoot from the hip when I'm making tunes. And I'm blessed to have assembled the, the biggest team of assholes in music is what I call it, because I know exactly what they're thinking at all times. There's no guesswork and I respect the hell out of them. And, they're just the best of the best, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. What do you do outside of music to stay kind of grounded and keep yourself on an even kilter?
Well, man, I think it changes. It changes all the time. I love photography, so that's like something that I love to chase. Film photography. I've kind of fallen in love with the fact that you got to slow down and it's not instant, and it's kind of just like you got to appreciate it a bit more. Kind of really pumps the brakes on life. So I'm lucky to have some great videographers and photographers in my life who I look up to and call, best friends. And we've done a lot of road trips in the past few years where I used to have a big old jacked up Sprinter and we'd hop in that and sleep in it for 2 weeks at a time. And,
Nice.
East Coast, West Coast, wherever we were going, Northern Ontario, Northern Canada, and just go up and just find the places that people aren't and take photos. And I love fishing too, spend a lot of time on the water. A lot of my friends are either part-time guides or part-time pros. So, there's walleye opener on May Long. Like I've never missed it. And I don't know how many years, like I think 7 years, no matter how
Nice.
busy I am, it's like, that's booked off. It's like, I don't miss
Yeah.
walleye opener on the Spanish. I go with my best friend, his dad, and a couple of our buddies. Like now that group is massive. There's so many of us, but we hit that water, 4 days every year, man. I don't miss that. So it's kind of charges the batteries and then we go from there.
And it's something you probably look forward to. It's when it's coming up, you're like, damn, we're getting ready to go and
Yeah.
have some fun.
Yeah. There's a chaos element to my schedule, and that is a constant. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a whole lot of those in my life. So I look forward to those. I got a bed to sleep in and a roof over my head and May Long walleye opener. Those are the constants in my life.
Hey, I mean, at least you got something.
That's it. That's it.
Is there any, going back to like performances and stuff, is there any kind of local artists or people that you think we should be watching more that just aren't being seen enough?
Man, that's a tough question. Because there's a ton of them. You know, in Canada specifically, like I think the greatest voices in Canada are the least celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
100%.
because when you're that talented, you don't have to compromise because it's right there. You know what I mean? So you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to play the game as much. But you got people like Kelly Prescott, Jessica Mitchell, JJ Shiplett. Like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Those voices will break your heart in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky to call those people friends. And then you got like I always pronounce his last name wrong, but there's a whole thing coming out of Winnipeg right now. But Chris Ulrich, like folky, it's a little different. Noah Dirksen, like man, that Winnipeg sound, it's like the soft, whispery voices that just like would lull you to sleep, but then the lyrics will just break your heart. There's so many great artists out there. Parker Gray, I think, is a great voice in country. I played around with her the other day. She's like someone that I've just recently met down here, Canadian. And man, those songs live, man, I'm telling you, like there's a depth there that is just, it just needs to be celebrated. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love always hearing, because there's so many things out there, you'll never hear everything. So I get more insight on different people from people like you when I'm talking about different stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I probably have a bias too, because those people are my friends and like I love their music because I think it's heartbreaking and I know them and I know it comes from an honest, sincere place and I see how hard they work. But yeah, man, that stuff it's lethal. It's all lethal. And there's so much talent. There's so much talent.
Mm-hmm. See, I like the bias though, because know that you're listening for more than just a produced single that's out there, and you're hearing the extra stuff behind it. So that's why I like that bias.
Yeah. That's good, man. Cool.
Do you have a guilty pleasure song on your playlist that people wouldn't really think you listen to?
Ooh, do I ever? I got a bunch of them, man. Like it's hold on, I'm gonna look this up. So I listen to everything, man. Like I listen to my playlist is the most messed up thing ever. It's right now, like I just pulled up the last things that I've listened to, and it goes from like Loretta Lynn, Van Leer Rose to like Crazy Rap, Colt 45 and Two Zigzags by Afro Man. Like
Yep.
that's going off like Dead Kennedys, like Too Drunk to Fuck, like the you know what I mean? To like One to One, which is like Tevin Campbell from the Goofy movie. Like that randomly
Okay.
popped up the other day, and I was like, man, what a childhood throwback. Um, yeah, man, I don't know, to you too, to like Orville Peck, to like Post to Be by Chris Brown and Omarion. Like, you know what I mean? Like I love that stuff. I love it. I'm all over the map, man.
That's awesome. That's exactly how my playlist is. And
Yeah.
it's fun. I brought up Afro Man. I actually got to work with him a couple of weeks back. He was in town, so we were hanging out, and just he's such a great guy. Just jokes and
Oh yeah.
funny all over the place. It was such a good
Yeah.
show.
Oh, dude, the lyrics are like Colt 45 and Two Zigzags.
Yeah.
I'm like, woo, come on now. You
Yeah,
know,
we
just
we packed out a small like underground type of venue, and just it was
yeah.
sweaty and gross and fun because he's just talking about everything, joking and singing songs, and it was like, damn, that's fun.
Yeah, man, it's like that's a dude who just does what he does, and it's great. And I don't know. That's the beauty of music, right? It comes in all shapes, all forms, and it's all art.
Hmm.
And it all gets me really stoked. And every time I stumble upon something crazy like that, just I go down the rabbit hole. I'm like, oh man, like NW, like fuck the police, like all that stuff. Where I'm like NWA, woo, here we go.
Yeah,
Just joking. I'm very pro police, but I love that song. My dad's a cop, so I'm like, love it. But yeah, it's funny.
yeah. And, I mean, we've worked with some of the NWA guys too in the past, which was fun.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
man.
fun to be able to hear all these things too, and connect all these different stories of different musicians. And I love that you love everything. That's great.
Oh, oh man, like the Moffats come on, and I'm like, boom, like hit me with that boy band shit. Those brother harmonies, come on, you know what I mean? Like I love that stuff. Everything, I'm all over the map.
That's
It's
awesome.
nasty. Yeah,
So I do have a couple fun questions I always like to ask near the end of my interviews for everyone that's a first time interview with me.
yeah.
So first one's kind of a really indecisive one, but do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
I mean, yeah, I guess kind of like it's kind of. I mean, is a hamburger a sandwich? Like I don't know.
That's the great thing you think for sure.
Answer a question with a question is classic deflection. Um, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's bread and it's meat and like I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I think it's all variations of sandwich.
I think, yeah, like legally speaking, it's the bread and the meat, so the sandwich comes into play, but then you have like the metaphorical thing where people are like, no, it's its own thing. And
Yeah, maybe. I mean, based on principle, maybe, but I've never met a glizzy I didn't like. So, here
right.
we are. Yeah.
Yeah. More of a serious one is what's one thing you think should be asked more in an interview scenario that's not asked enough?
Are you wearing pants?
Okay.
I'm
uh,
not.
I mean, I'm wearing shorts. I don't think I ever wear pants, to be honest.
There it is. I never wear shorts, but when I do these interviews, I'm waist up. So I'm wearing like whatever I want right now. I'm in boxers, really. It's
that,
like a nice
that
thing.
makes sense, man. I feel that for sure. And see, that's a fun one. I get a lot of serious ones, but that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah, because nobody knows really what's happening from the waist down. So it's kind of
Exactly.
that is the great unknown.
Mm-hmm. Who plays you in the movie of your life?
Oh, I would hope Owen Wilson.
Oh God, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Although, can he actually grow like an epic beard like yourself, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they'll just fill it in.
Yeah, I mean that would work. But yeah, Owen Wilson would be fun.
Yeah.
I look at myself and I'd have like I don't know, like an Action Bronson or something, some goofy guy like that, just doing weird stuff.
Dude, that's a beautiful thing. I
Mm-hmm.
just want him to go like, wow. I want him to say wow. That was a terrible Owen Wilson, but I just want him to say wow like 100 times.
Just yeah, just every time it's like, yes, perfect. That's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Next one is what do you hope people take away from your music?
Uh Whatever they need, man. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but like that's what music is to me. And different songs, the same song has meant different things to me throughout my life. Like, I find what I need in music, and I write music and I record music because it's what I need in that moment, wherever I am. So, um, yeah, if people can take joy or take, comfort and sorrow, or they can take, encouragement, or they can take, a blow to their ego that they need at the time from a song. Just hits you the right way. I get that all the time. I get humbled by music consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the purpose of music. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually experienced that when we had our baby, and you listen to a song back before that, and then you listen to it again while you're holding a kid in your arms, bottle feeding, and it's like, man, that just hits different right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Or you hear a version of a song sung by somebody different, and it just hits you. You got just
Mm-hmm.
what you said reminds me of Humble and Kind. You hear Tim McGraw sing it, and you're like, oh, that's dope. And then you hear Laurie McKenna sing it, who wrote it, and then you realize she's singing it. She wrote that for her kids, and you're like, whew, that hits like a whole different. That's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. No, that yeah. When that happens, it's always a magical thing. It makes you just love music that much more that it can do something just different every time.
Yeah, man. Or like I know there's a song, "Clean Slate" by Donovan Woods. It's like, I've heard that song a million times, and then you hear it. Um, you get out of a relationship and you hear it, or you're getting into a relationship, or whatever it is, and you hear it for the first time, and you're like, they just mean different things. All these songs across the board, they just hit you wherever you are. That's the beauty of music; it meets you wherever you are,
Yeah,
and that's
that's a good way to put it.
yeah.
100%. So what keeps you going in the music? Why are you still walking down this path?
Uh, Probably blind stubbornness. No, man, I just don't know what else I would do, man. Like I've had high highs and I've had low lows in this industry, um, but every day I'm in the wins and in the failures, like in the mountains and the valleys. Like I still feel whole making music and being an artist. And the only time that I've ever been unhappy, um, whether I have everything or nothing, um, in my life, is when I'm not able to make music. So I don't think I can exist without making music, and I've lost everything in my life to make music, and it's too late to give up now. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm in it for life, and it's cost me everything, and it's given me everything.
And that connects to my last question.
Oh, sorry, was that cut out just for a second?
Oh, so yeah, that led into my last question of just, are you happy?
Yeah, man, I think I am. I think I am. I think happiness is a thing that I explore um, daily in my you know um, programmed subconscious that is running all the time. More recently I've started to explore that a little bit more with through therapy and through um, just introspective thinking. And I know that sounds really deep, but I think the older I get, the more you start to slow and go, okay, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And and am I doing this because it's programmed into me, or am I doing this because this is what I want to do, or is this a reaction based on trauma? And the more I explore that, the more I realize how fucked up I am. Number one,
I
and
mean,
how,
aren't we all though?
yeah, man, it's crazy. Like if you stop and you think about like things you do on a daily basis, or why you think the way you think, or why you react the way you react, you start to realize that those are all reactions that are programmed based on where you are in life or what you've experienced. We're the sum of our experiences, and through learning to extend yourself grace and analyze why you do what you do. I know that all sounds heavy and crazy, but that's I've been through a lot. The last year of my life has been refinement is the best way that I've been put through the fire, for better or worse. Um, and that's no one's fault or anything, but it is what it is. And I think it makes you take a hard look at yourself, and it either makes you tear everything apart and rebuild it, or it makes you, more steadfast in what you believe. And it's done both of those things for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of had some of those similar situations, so I can feel you on that for sure.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's all I have written down here. Is there any kind of final words of wisdom you want to leave for listeners, new and old?
Yeah, man. I think just slow down. Remember to listen to music, and remember to listen to music through the lens of trying to get what you need from it and find what you need. And yeah, I got new music coming hopefully soon. That'll be a little bit more of the sad stuff that I love to do. I always do a side A, side B kind of records, and I got the side B record. I call it the B record only because they're songs that have no business at radio or anything like that, but I do them for me. I
Yeah.
feel like the people following along have connected with those songs over the years, so I'm excited to put those out. So yeah, man, it's good.
Well, we're looking forward to for sure, and we'll I'm gonna make sure to link everything. So your socials, the website, whatever I can find, we'll put some stuff in the description for people. And it was great to like chat with you, get to know you a little bit better, and kind of connect with you as a person. And hopefully we'll get to do this again.
Yeah, man, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have chatted with you, and I appreciate your time. It means a lot to me, man.
And I'll make sure just to see some of those shots I took from boots last year for you.
Yeah, I'd love to see them. I'm always stoked to see how many weird faces I make on stage.
For wearing
It's
glasses the whole time, I think. So you kind of
yeah,
had this more serious but like kind of hard look, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
was it,
Well,
it
I
was
do that on
fun.
purpose, or else I just look crazy. So it's great. Yeah,
That makes sense because I don't go without glasses outside just because.
yeah, yeah. It's the move, man. Especially when your like mouth is open and you're singing and you're getting into things, and then you're like, it's like
Yeah,
no one wants to see that, you know.
yeah, exactly. But anyways, I'll let you go. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna go up and feed the little one and see what she's doing, and we'll chat again for sure.
No, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.